Zoey, a young professional rushing in excitement, heads to meet a new client. Her boss had personally asked her to take on this project, and she's eager to get some fresh work. As she pushes open the door to the hotel cafe, Zoey freezes in her tracks. Her eyes widen and her breath catches in her throat. There, sitting at a table by the window, is a face she never thought she'd see again. Blaine Dexter, her ex-lover. Zoey blinks rapidly, convinced her mind must be playing tricks on her. This can't be happening, right? What are the odds that her new client would be the very man she spent months trying to forget? As she stands there rooted to the spot, her phone suddenly vibrates in her pocket.
Hello?
Are we going to discuss my project by shouting at each other from across the room? Or are you going to join me?
What?
Well, if I had known I had to talk to somebody over the phone, I wouldn't have called for your boss to meet me here.
I'm sorry, be right there.
Zoey sat down across from Blaine, who stayed silent, his dark eyes fixated on her. The tension between them was palpable, and Zoey's mind drifted back to that fateful night 4 years ago, the memories as vivid as ever.
No, stop! Don't hurt me, please! I'm pregnant!
A young and pregnant Zoey ran through a dark alley, her breath quick and fearful. Catherine, Blaine's mother, chased after her, a knife glinting in her hand. Panic surged through Zoey as she tried to escape. The sound of footsteps closing in behind her, and the woman pointed the knife towards Zoey's stomach.
You will never be a part of my family. You're a disgrace, a nobody. My son should be ashamed for knocking up a girl like you.
What?
Our family is respectable. We have an image to upkeep. I won't have my son running around with a hooker.
But he's your grandson! How could you do such a thing?
That is not my grandson. That is a vermin, a parasite that will ruin our family name.
I'll run away from here. I'll go anywhere. You'll never see or hear from me again. Please, just don't hurt my baby.
It isn't enough. It has to go.
The woman's eyes darkened as she stabbed Zoey in the stomach.
Why?
Zoey collapsed to the ground, blood pouring from the wound. Catherine stood over her with a chillingly dark expression, her eyes cold and unfeeling. Zoey jolted awake in a hospital room and let out a scream.
No!
She wasn't in an alleyway. It was just a dream. Actually, it was more than a dream. It was a memory of a fateful night 4 years ago, a memory that haunted her every moment of her life since. Zoey survived, and so did her miracle child, Max. Her son was the reason she fought every day. The love she had for him was immeasurable. She would do anything to protect him, to give him a chance at a happy and healthy life. That night was supposed to be the end of Zoey's life. Instead, it was the beginning. Zoey sat next to Max and wrapped a protective arm around him. She was determined not to let their haunted past destroy their present. The previous night still haunted Zoey. Even after 4 years, she couldn't escape the nightmares that replayed the events of that fateful night. Thankfully, her work served as a positive distraction, allowing her to momentarily forget the turmoil and focus on something constructive. It helped her push aside the haunting memories, at least for a little while.
And sent.
5 o'clock is quitting time. You finished for the day?
I was just putting the finishing touches on this design, but I'm done.
I'd ask you to happy hour, but I'm sure you're off to see your son. It's okay, I get it. Your date is much cuter than anyone I'll see at the bar.
That he is. I'm heading out. I'll see you tomorrow, Court.
Zoey quickly walked toward the exit of Taylor Interiors. This was the best part of her day. She wanted to get to the hospital to spend as much time with her son as possible before visiting hours ended. Zoey walked down the hall of St. Mary's Hospital with a teddy bear and headed straight to room 1023, pushed open the hospital room's door with a huge smile, only for her face to immediately fall. The room was empty. There was no sign of Zoey's son. She immediately became anxious. A small young bald child wearing a small blue and white striped gown was walking down the hall with his nurse.
If you give me candy, my teeth will fall out. Mommy!
Zoey!
Zoey let out a breath she didn't know she'd been holding when she saw Max.
Slow down. Thank you, Luna, for taking such good care of him.
Because of the hospital's sweet nursing staff, Zoey could go to work and not worry so much about Max.
Of course, it's our pleasure. He's the best. We're happy to take good care of him.
That's why I need to thank you all the more. Is it just you and the intern on duty today? Where's all the other nurses on this floor?
It's 6:45. They're all gawking at the new brain surgeon before he heads into OR. But I can't blame them. He is gorgeous. He went in?
Yep, just went in for surgery. Even his voice is sexy. I was assisting him the other day, and he said, hematoma in the brain, prepare for surgery. And I wanted to have his babies.
He is Phoenix's most eligible bachelor. He was promoted to professor when he came to St. Mary's.
I also heard that his family is loaded and has a lot of political influence. He moved into a new penthouse downtown.
Whoa.
Anyway, you two stop daydreaming and get back to work. It's not like any of us stand a chance with a man like that. I'm sure he only dates women like him, gorgeous and from the right kind of family.
We can dream, can't we?
The right kind of family. Luna's words stopped her cold and reminded Zoey of her past. Not being part of the right kind of family is what had almost gotten her and Max killed. Zoey hadn't slept well last night. Nurse Luna's words yesterday about being part of the right kind of family had dredged up memories that she preferred to keep buried, and she had tossed and turned all night. Zoey was just leaving the office when Courtney came running towards her.
Your phone has rung like 10 times in a row. Someone needs to talk to you. She said to call you right away.
It wasn't the hospital, was it?
No, I would have come and gotten you right away. She said it's about your sister, not Max. Let me know if you need anything.
Thank you, I will. Hello?
Oh, Zoey, thank God you called back.
Linda? What's going on? Is something wrong? Did something happen?
It's Ziva. She fell down the stairs and almost killed herself.
What?
Don't worry, Ziva will be fine. The doctor said her injuries weren't a big problem. But Ziva has broken her leg and had a slight concussion.
Okay, I'll be right there. Where are you at?
St. Mary's, but... never mind. I have to go.
What do you mean, never mind? Tell me what's happening.
It's your sister, Zoey. She didn't fall down the stairs. She deliberately threw herself down the stairs. She wanted to injure herself, but she didn't want to die.
Is she crazy?
She fell in love with a brain surgeon that works at St. Mary's Hospital, but he always ignores her. She wanted to get admitted to the hospital so he would have to pay attention to her. Zoey, I told her that I thought she was crazy, but you know how Ziva is. She wouldn't listen. I gotta go. The nurse is here to give her medicine.
Okay, I'll see you soon.
Zoey is walking down the hospital hall, infuriated at her sister.
Ziva, you better start explaining yourself. I swear to God, if you didn't have a broken leg, I would break it myself.
No, it couldn't have been him. Why would he be here in Phoenix? He lived in Scottsdale.
Any dizziness or nausea? Double vision?
Maybe a little.
Zoey's heart stopped. It was him. She knew that voice anywhere. Her chest tightened and she forgot to breathe.
Zoey, come in.
You're Ziva's sister?
Yes, I'm her older sister.
Her heart was beating wildly. She thought she would never be looking into his eyes again. Zoey was sure her face reflected her emotional upheaval. Blaine seemed remarkably calm in comparison.
Zoey, this is Dr. Blaine Dexter.
It had been 4 years. Perhaps he saw her as nothing more than a distant memory now, a stranger from his past. Zoey didn't realize how much her hand had been shaking from nervousness until she tried to set her coffee down, and hot liquid spilled all over the back of her hand. A burning pain shot through her hand. Zoey quickly hid her hand behind her back as she turned around, but then suddenly she felt a cool touch. It was Blaine, and he was holding her hand.
The burn doesn't look that serious.
She wanted to break free, but found herself unable to resist his closeness. His voice was cold and clinical.
Kelly, can you please help Miss Fuller's sister?
Unlike Zoey, he seemed unaffected by their touch.
Your CT scan looks good. I see no injury to the brain. I'll have the nurse arrange to have you moved to the orthopedics department for observation.
What? Why? I don't feel well enough.
Ziva, all of my beds are precious. They are used to save lives and treat real injuries.
But...
I heard you like me. It's not going to happen, so don't waste your time or mine. I don't like women like you. How could you think I would like a woman that would be stupid enough to risk her own life for a man? I don't like women who scheme, and I don't like women who lie. I could never be with a woman who betrayed my trust. And for you, it's not just a little problem. Left untreated, it will fester, causing further complications a simple cream won't be able to solve. Kelly will put in a prescription, and you can pick it up at the hospital pharmacy on your way out.
With those final words, Blaine walked out, not bothering to glance back at Zoey.
You did this. Did you tell him?
Ziva, calm down.
Ziva, in your heart, do you really think I am such a terrible person? That I would betray you?
Zoey's heart ached. Ziva didn't know it, but Zoey simply didn't want to see her younger sister get hurt. She didn't want her to fall in love with a man she could never have. To find the kind of deep love that only happens when you meet your soulmate, to only have him taken away. Zoey didn't want her sister threatened, frightened, and harassed by others day and night. This kind of torture wasn't something Zoey would wish on her worst enemy, let alone her own sister. Zoey blinked in disbelief at the man casually sitting. He was gazing at the city, the color of his eyes today, a stormy gray. Blaine remained quiet, watching Zoey with his dark eyes, but saying nothing. Zoey got straight to the point and asked,
Dr. Dexter, do you have any specific ideas for your home's design? Do you prefer a modern or a more classical look? There are so many styles to choose, from mid-century, retro, and revival, just to name a few. Just not shabby chic. Shabby chic is out, and coastal grandma is in. Not that you want your home to look like your grandmother's house, since you're a man and not a grandma. What about furniture? Antiques or more modular pieces? Some people prioritize style, others comfort. Did you have a specific color scheme in mind? Color plays a huge role in any design, setting the mood for the whole interior. You can go monochrome for a clean, uncluttered look, or more eclectic. Think black and white with pops of bright colors like red or yellow. Warm colors can create a welcoming and cozy environment where blues and grays can be soothing. Here, these are recent examples of my work. If you see anything that catches your eye, let me know.
Zoey finally stopped talking. She was out of breath and wished there was a hole in the hotel lobby she could crawl. Didn't open Zoey's portfolio.
Right now, what I want is food. Let's eat first.
Blaine held up his hand politely to call over a waiter.
Yes, sir. How can I help you?
We'd like to see the menu, please.
Right away, sir. I'll give you some time to look it over.
I'm sorry about that. I was rude. I'm not usually that, talkative.
Never mind. This was unexpected, to say the least.
What would you like to eat, miss?
Oh, just the water is fine for me.
Bring 2 plates, please. She'll be sharing with me.
Zoey normally prided herself on her professionalism. Usually when she met her client, she'd get into small talk before launching into a discussion about the project. Zoey just hadn't been able to do this with Blaine. Zoey picked up her fork and took several bites, but when she looked up again, she saw Blaine wasn't eating.
I thought you were hungry. Why aren't you eating?
Don't worry about me. I'm fine. Just not so hungry after all.
Zoey's intuition told her Blaine wasn't in a good mood. His gray eyes were stormy and distant. He clearly had something on his mind.
Is everything all right? I'm not trying to pry. I can just tell something is bothering you.
He didn't want to tell Zoey that 2 hours ago he saw a life disappear before his eyes. He had thought that as a doctor he'd eventually get used to seeing a life lost, but now he knew that death was something you never got used to. There was an indescribable heaviness in his heart. Seeing that Blaine didn't want to talk about it, Zoey didn't say anything else. She just quietly looked down and resumed eating. She shouldn't be concerned about Blaine, but she couldn't help herself. Her mind was in chaos because of him. Blaine's gaze fell on Zoey's lowered face. Since she was looking down, he couldn't see her eyes clearly, but he could see her long lashes flitting against her cheeks. She was nervous. He watched as Zoey tucked a strand of her dark hair behind her ear. She'd worn it up today, but some long strands had escaped, falling gently around her face. It didn't seem possible, but Zoey was even more beautiful than he remembered. He closed his eyes for a moment, and Blaine's heavy heart seemed to calm. Zoey's few words of gentle concern gradually gave him a sense of relief.
Dr. Dexter, Yes, I can be there now. Which patient is having complications? Okay, I know who you're talking about. Have her prepped for surgery. I'm on my way.
Is there something urgent at the hospital?
Zoe assumed that their design conversation was over before it had even started.
Yes, I have a patient that needs emergency surgery. About the renovation of my place, I will contact you when I have more time to talk.
Okay, I understand you have a busy schedule.
And with that, Blaine left. Zoe was overwhelmed with a mix of emotions. Yesterday had been a long day with multiple surgeries and the death of his patient. Exhausted, Blaine had escaped outside between operations for some fresh air and had dozed off under the warm autumn sun. Suddenly, Blaine felt something hit his foot. He opened his eyes in a daze.
I'm sorry, my ball hit your foot.
That's okay, no worries.
Are you a doctor?
Yes,
He was a very handsome little guy. His eyes shined brightly with curiosity and intelligence. This kid was going to be a heartbreaker.
You're very handsome. If Luna met you, she might not want to marry me anymore.
what's your name?
My name is Maxwell, but you can call me Max. What's your name?
My name is Blaine Dexter.
Dr. Dexter? Dr. Dexter, are you a brain surgeon?
Yes, I'm a surgeon in the neurology department.
Is your family loaded with strong political influence?
Hey kid, are you a detective?
Is your voice so sexy that the nurses have babies when they hear it?
Max, you can't say that.
Oh, Dr. Dexter, are you still single?
I have a girlfriend.
But you're supposed to be Phoenix's most eligible bachelor.
I have a girlfriend. Why are you acting like it's a bad thing?
I hoped you didn't have a girlfriend so you could meet my mommy and she could be your girlfriend.
You don't have a daddy?
I have a daddy, but my daddy and mommy don't live together.
I see.
My mommy comes to see me every day. She's the best. Do you think I'll get better?
Listening to the little guy's words, Blaine felt an inexplicable ache around his heart. Blaine had no idea what disease Max was suffering from, but he knew that he must be very ill. Given his lack of hair and fair skin, Max probably had a form of cancer and was undergoing chemotherapy.
If I fall asleep one day and never wake up again, my mommy will cry and be so sad. My friend Maria fell asleep and didn't wake up, and her mommy couldn't stop crying. I don't want to see my mommy cry too, so I hope that I get better soon.
Blaine's throat felt a little dry and hoarse. Facing this small patient beside him, he couldn't say anything to comfort him because he didn't know what to say.
Okay, right.
Max put his little hand in his pockets and fished around for something before pulling out a small object. He held it up for Blaine's inspection.
Dr. Dexter, do you think you can use this thing?
He was speechless. It was a brightly wrapped condom and seemed to be some sort of a giveaway sample for a new brand Blaine had never heard of. Seeing Blaine's strange expression, the little guy looked confused and a little embarrassed. Max scratched his head and his face turned red before admitting,
Mommy said that it would be very bad to take out this thing and show it to anyone, but Mommy sells things to help cure me, so I thought I could sell these things too. Mommy says honest work is always good, and she's not embarrassed if it helps cure Max. So, Dr. Dexter, can you use this thing? If you need it, you can buy it from me, and I have more too.
Blaine was both charmed and horrified. He had never met a child like Max before.
Do you know what it does? Mommy wouldn't tell me.
Your mother is right not to tell you.
Blaine was curious about what kind of a mother could raise such an innocent yet mischievous child like Max.
I'll buy it from you.
What?
Blaine was growing more and more interested in this mother.
So, how much do I owe you, bud?
$2.
All I have is a 20. You can keep the rest.
Okay.
Max!
Luna, I'm over here. Thank you, Dr. Dexter. When you need more of these things, you come to find me. I'm in room 1023.
Didn't you promise to wait for me by the fountain?
I'm sorry. I kicked the football and it kept rolling, so I had to chase it far. Nurse Luna, I want to introduce you to my new friend. This is Dr. Dexter, whose voice can make nurses have babies.
Max! Hello, Dr. Dexter. Sorry about that. He's been in the hospital for years. He doesn't really know much else.
Can you tell me what's wrong with the little guy?
Leukemia, I'm afraid.
Blaine's face went blank. What a hardship for a child to carry, especially now Blaine felt for his mother.
Have you found a match for the bone marrow transplant?
The family has all been tested and no one is a match. I've been searching for a donor all over the city for over a year without success.
Blaine felt the same ache around his heart as earlier. He knew how difficult it was to find a bone marrow donor. A patient's best chance of finding a match was usually a family member. But if all of Max's family had already been tested without success, it would take a miracle to find a matching donor now.
I still have one more surgery. I should get back inside.
Okay, have a good day, doctor.
Bye, buddy. I'll see you around, okay?
Goodbye, Dr. Dexter.
Goodbye, buddy. I'll see you around.
Blaine left while Max and Nurse Luna took a seat on the nearby bench.
You know, you both kind of look alike.
That's because we're both so handsome.
Preparing for surgery, as Blaine is removing his coat, the condom that Max had given him falls out. His operating partner is shocked.
Dude, what have you got planned for after work, and can I join you?
If I were to tell you these were all sold to me by a 4-year-old pint-sized hustler, would you believe me?
What? No way, you're lying.
Blaine's phone rang and the caller ID showed it was Zoey.
Hello?
Do you have time this week to show me the space, Dr. Dexter? I need to see the layout of the rooms and take measurements.
I'm about to go into surgery. The operation should take about 3 hours. Meet me at the fountain at the entrance of the hospital at 5.
Okay.
3 hours later, Zoey arrived at the hospital fountain right on time. Time passed, but still no Blaine. Zoey was bathed in the lazy sunset and almost fell asleep. Checking her watch, she saw it was almost 8 o'clock. She'd been waiting an hour. Was the surgery not over yet? In the operating room, Blaine asked his surgical nurse for the time. Blaine was still performing surgery on the patient in front of him.
What time is it?
Kelly threw off her gloves and went to make the call and brought him the phone.
7:15.
Help me get Dr. Ramirez on the phone, would you?
Although this tumor is benign, it is far more troublesome than we imagined. Good call, Blaine. If you hadn't insisted on operating, she could have gone blind.
Is the line connected?
Yes, Dr. Ramirez. I have Dr. Dexter on the line for you.
Jose, I need you to do me a favor. Go and see if there's a woman named Zoey Fuller waiting for me at the fountain out front. If there is, give her the address to my apartment and my house key out of my locker. Tell Zoey to let herself into my apartment and I'll meet her there when I'm out of surgery.
Go to Blaine's apartment? Alone? She couldn't. But it was for her job. She had to. This was crossing the line. Wasn't it just a fluke that she ran into Blaine again? She would just go to Talon and tell him she wasn't capable of working with this client. But she did want to see his apartment after all. Would she go? And more importantly, what would happen when Blaine arrived? Zoey arrived back home and, feeling exhausted, collapsed onto the couch.
I can't believe I waited hours for Blaine and he didn't even show up. Why is this happening to me? Why is he back?
Tears streamed down Zoey's face as she struggled with her emotions. Exhausted, she finally drifted off to sleep on the couch, her breathing evening out as she settled into a restless slumber. Catherine grabbed Zoey's hair, threatening her as Zoey screamed in pain. Meanwhile, Max lay on the bed, peacefully asleep, unaware of the chaos around him.
I should have made sure you were dead that night.
Catherine, please!
Mommy?
Get that patient to the OR immediately.
Blaine, help us! He's your son!
Catherine stabs Zoey as she screams in pain. Zoey woke up screaming, jolted out of her sleep by the nightmare.
Max!
Zoey and Blaine are sitting at a table in a luxurious cafe. Zoey comes in looking disheveled and upset after a long walk.
Why did you give me your keys if we were going to be meeting here?
Well, this is how it feels when you leave someone without explanation.
Blaine, do you really think I left you?
I don't know. Here she is.
A beautiful blonde woman joins their table.
Sophia, this is Zoey. She'll be remodeling our apartment. And Zoey, meet my fantastic fiancée, Sophia Quincy.
Zoey goes into sudden shock the moment she hears the name Sophia Quincy.
Fiancé? Congratulations.
Good evening. Can I start with water tonight? Will we be expecting more company tonight, or will it just be the three of you?
Excuse me, I need to freshen up. I'll be right back.
Yes, it'll be the three of us, and we'll start with water, thank you.
Zoey rushes into the restroom and takes deep breaths. She stands before the sink, tears rolling down her eyes, looking at the mirror.
Get a hold of yourself, Zoey.
Zoey lay unconscious on the road, blood pouring from Catherine's stab wound. 2 police officers rushed to her side, ready to help.
Ma'am, can you hear me? What is your name?
Zoey.
Zoey, help is on the way.
She's got a stab wound. Looks serious. Time is critical.
I want a lavish old world charm for our design, but Blaine finds it a bit too fancy.
Hey, your taste is my taste. You don't need to worry about my opinion.
If you treat me like this, aren't you afraid I'll become spoiled?
You deserve to be spoiled.
Matthew, what happened? Please excuse me, I have to get to the hospital.
Blaine and Sophia look at her concerned. Before Blaine can ask Zoey anything, Zoey picks up her bag and rushes out. Zoey runs towards the exit when she suddenly bumps into a waiter and her necklace falls on the floor, along with the items in the waiter's hands. Zoey apologizes to the waiter and rushes out. As the waiter gathers his things, he discovers the necklace lying on the ground. He picks it up and looks for Zoey, but she has already left by then. Zoey rushes through the door toward the waiting area outside the operation theater. Zoey rushes into the hospital, making her way to Max's operation theater room. She sees Matthew and breaks down.
Is he okay? Matthew, where is he? I need to see him.
Zoey, listen to me. Zoey! Max was in surgery and he's out of immediate danger now, but...
What? But what? Matthew, will he be okay?
Zoey, doctor said that Max needs to start chemo as soon as possible. Zoey, I tried to find a donor for Max's bone marrow, but it's really hard to find a match. We have no option right now.
This is a nightmare. And how am I going to afford all of this? Max's operation, chemotherapy. Oh, God. It's all going to cost a lot.
Zoey, you are the strongest woman I know. Don't give up. Not now. We'll find a donor. Have faith.
Yes. Yes. Why didn't I think about it earlier? I'll talk to Blaine. He is Max's father. He must be a match. He must be a match, Matthew.
Zoey, please, wait. Zoey, listen to me.
Let go of me. I need to find Blaine so he can save my son.
Blaine can't save Max.
No, you are a liar. You said parents are the best matches. Blaine can save him.
Zoey, I've checked. I took a sample of Blaine's blood from one of the hospital's routine tests. He's not a match.
Zoey is sitting beside Max, sleeping on his bed. Suddenly, he wakes up.
Mom?
Baby, you're awake, my baby. How are you feeling?
I am strong again, Mom. Mommy, did you forget to wear your necklace? It looks so pretty on you.
Zoey's hand instinctively reached for her necklace, only to find that it was gone.
What? Oh, dear. I must have dropped it somewhere.
You had it on when you came to see me before dinner. I remember it hanging down when you kissed me goodbye.
As Zoey walked out of Max's room, she noticed Blaine engaged in a conversation with some nurses. She hesitated for a moment, then decided to approach him.
What are you doing here?
You have my necklace.
You can drop something so valuable just like you drop people.
Blaine, it's mine. I didn't leave you on purpose.
What happened then?
I don't think you deserve to know. For the best of me and him.
So there's somebody else?
It's not like that.
Blaine angrily handed Zoey her necklace, his expression a blend of anger and sadness. Zoey arrived at Blaine and Sophia's apartment to discuss the renovations. As they talked, Sophia watched her with a suspicious look, her eyes narrow and wary.
Zoey! Thank you for coming at such short notice. I had some new ideas for the apartment and couldn't wait to share them with you.
Great.
So, how long has it been since you and Blaine have known each other?
Excuse me?
I found your picture on his computer. You know each other from before, right?
Sophia, I don't know.
Relax. It's not just the two of you. It's a group photo. And even if it was, I wouldn't mind or be jealous. It's impossible between you two. Blaine's mother is quite intimidating.
Right.
Oh, Blaine returned the necklace. Where did you get this necklace, by the way? Let me guess. Your boyfriend?
It was a gift from a friend.
Oh, please. Definitely not just a friend, right? After all, this isn't just any diamond.
I'm not sure what you mean.
This diamond is called the Heart of the Sea, and it's priceless. There's no other diamond like it in the world.
I didn't know.
You know, I would put my hands under fire for Blaine. You understand?
Sophia's words hung in the air, a clear warning. Zoey shifted uncomfortably, feeling the weight of the tension between them. The seriousness in Sophia's eyes made it clear that she wasn't just speaking in metaphors. Linda is a friend of Zoe's who works at a computer repair shop.
Hey, Linda, can you take this one?
Sure thing.
Linda was busy fixing Blaine's laptop, carefully navigating through files and settings as she worked to resolve the issue, when suddenly she stumbled upon a folder filled with pictures of Zoey. Shocked, she quickly reached for her phone and called Zoey, her hands trembling as she dialed the number.
Zoey, quickly check your email and come to my shop, right now.
Where did you get these, Linda?
Some woman just came and dropped off her boss's computer.
You have to delete these photos.
Zoey, I'm not supposed to.
Please, Linda.
Linda was a close friend of Zoe's, and so she risked her job and deleted all the pictures from Blaine's laptop. Zoey is working when suddenly she gets a call from her boss, Talon.
Zoey, what did you steal?
What are you talking about?
Zoey, Dr. Dexter called me and told me you stole something from him. Resolve this. He's waiting in the lobby.
A furious Zoey stormed into the lobby, her eyes blazing with anger. As she entered, she saw Blaine waiting for her, his expression equally tense and irritated.
I heard you're accusing me of stealing something?
Where are my photos?
I thought you had let the past go.
Just hand them over.
They're not yours. Let me go, Blaine!
Return my photos.
Blaine, you're hurting me!
Those pictures are mine!
They're pictures of me! What gives you the right to keep them with you? I could sue you for invading my privacy!
Give them back, or...
Or what, Blaine?
I get you fired. Don't test me, Zoey. I can go to any lengths to end this.
Fine then. Take them.
Zoey ran into a bathroom stall, locked the door, and broke down in tears. As she sobbed, memories of her time with Blaine flooded her mind, overwhelming her with a mix of sorrow and regret. Blaine and Zoey stood in front of a tranquil lake, their faces reflecting the tension between them. Both looked upset, their expressions filled with unspoken words and unresolved emotions. The calm water mirrored the turmoil they felt inside, adding a somber tone to the moment.
Zoey, why did you want to meet me here, instead of the apartment?
Take it back. I hope it solves everything.
Zoey angrily handed Blaine the necklace, her eyes blazing with frustration. Blaine's expression shifted from shock to anger in an instant. Without a second thought, he threw the necklace into the lake.
Why would you do that? That meant everything to me and him.
And who is the person, huh?
Zoey ignores Blaine's question and jumps into the river to retrieve her necklace. Blaine, too, follows her. Zoey and Blaine emerged from the lake, shivering from the cold water. Zoey clutched the necklace tightly in her hand, her teeth chattering as she breathed heavily, having successfully retrieved the sentimental piece.
We can die of hypothermia.
I'm fine. Give me my coat and I'll leave.
Knowing Blaine wouldn't take no for an answer, Zoey reluctantly followed him into his house. Zoey and Blaine stood in Blaine's bathroom, the small space amplifying the tension between them. Zoey shifted uncomfortably, her eyes darting around the room as she tried to avoid Blaine's gaze.
Take a shower.
I'm fine. Just give me my coat and I'll leave.
Blaine?
Blaine and Zoey froze, their eyes widening in panic. If Sophia walked in and saw them together in the bathroom, all hell would break loose. They held their breath, the tension thick in the air as they listened for any sign of Sophia's approach.
I'm in the shower, Sophia. I'll be out in a second. I'll find a way to distract her and get you out.
Blaine!
Sophia calls out. When there was no response, she started pounding on the door, trying to unlock it. Panic set in. Sophia can't see Blaine with Zoey. Even though nothing has happened between them, just by the looks of it, Sophia will assume the contrary. Blaine couldn't let that happen and thought quickly on his feet.
Yes, Sophia? I'll be out in a second if you could just keep my clothes ready in the bedroom. Thank you.
He called out to Sophia and turned to Zoey.
When I make loud noises, come.
Okay.
Zoey agreed. She was standing rooted to the ground, holding her breath, trying not to make any noise that would give away her presence, while Blaine walked out of the bathroom to meet Sophia.
Sophia, your eyes. They bring peace to my life.
You're never like this.
Sophia said in surprise. Blaine cupped her face and kissed her deeply. Though Sophia was confused by Blaine's sudden show of affection, she didn't fight it and gave in.
Here, follow me to the living room,
Blaine said loudly so Zoey could hear, and then proceeded to take Sophia into the living room. Zoey understood Blaine's cue and managed to sneak out of the apartment while he kept Sophia distracted. The next day, after Zoey made her usual morning visit to Max, she witnessed a commotion.
Code Gray! Code Gray! Security to the lobby. Please respond immediately.
The nurse cried out as a man picked up a chair and started yelling.
Where's Dr. Dexter? That quack needs to face me. My aunt was supposed to be alive when I got here.
Sir, please put the chair down. Please.
The man didn't listen to anyone. He screamed and threatened. This can't be happening, Zoey thought, and took matters into her hand. She stepped forward and spoke calmly.
Sir, please put the chair down. There are other patients on this floor that are sick. Please.
He killed my aunt.
I'm sorry about your aunt.
I need to find him. I need to talk to him. He owes me an explanation. Where is he? Do you know Dr. Dexter?
Yes, I know him.
Zoey responded, maintaining her calm.
Where is he?
There are other doctors who can assist you. I know how hard it is to lose someone.
You have no idea.
Just when the man seemed to ease off, the security officer walked in and pulled the man's arms behind, trying to lock him.
Don't touch me!
The man tried to struggle out of the security's hold, pushing everything and everyone in his proximity. One thing led to another, and Zoey got hit on her nose, sending her to the floor with blood all over her face. As the security officer dragged the man out of the floor, the nurses came rushing to help Zoey. Meanwhile, Blaine finished with his morning surgery and stepped out of the operating room. Without wasting a moment, Ramona rushed over to him and gave him the update.
Dr. Dexter, there has been an incident.
What happened?
It is about the woman who died during surgery. One of her family members was trying to find you. He hit a woman.
What? He hit a woman?
Just when Blaine was trying to wrap his head around the incident, Jose joined in and delivered another piece of news about why the woman got hit.
She was defending you.
What? Why? Who is she?
It was Zoey.
Blaine's eyes widened hearing her name. Before he could say anything, he was paged in for an emergency, so he hurriedly told Ramona.
Okay, I need to attend to this. Could you set up a meeting with my lawyer, Robert Tan? We need to file a suit against this man.
As Ramona nodded, Blaine sprinted away to attend to a patient. In the emergency room, Zoey was being treated by a nurse.
Does this hurt?
Yes,
said Zoey, closing her eyes shut in pain. Suddenly, a familiar voice called out,
Zoey!
She opened her tear-stained eyes to see Blaine standing in front of her.
I heard about what happened. How are you? Nurse, can you give us a second, please?
The nurse walked out at Blaine's request. His voice was heavy with distress. Not wanting him to worry further, Zoey tried to downplay it. She smiled meekly and replied,
I'm feeling better.
Let me see.
Blaine sat next to her and put his hand up to her face, but Zoey squirmed. Sensing her discomfort, Blaine retracted his hand and changed the subject.
My lawyers are going to make sure that the man is held accountable for his actions. We just need a statement from you, okay?
Okay.
Zoey replied nonchalantly and turned away from him. Blaine fished out something from his pocket and handed it to Zoey.
A phone? Blaine, I can't accept this.
Look, I need to repay you somehow for my actions and your bravery. So please,
Zoey took the phone from Blaine and thanked him. Blaine opened his mouth to say something, but was cut off when Matthew rushed into the room.
Zoey, how are you? Oh, hello, Dr. Dexter.
Blaine didn't respond and just stared at Matthew. A million thoughts ran in his head. Who is this guy? Why was he here? Are Zoey and him a thing? But he snapped out and left the room when he got paged for an emergency. A wave of jealousy wrapped around Blaine when he looked back and saw Matthew hug Zoey. A while later, Blaine bumped into Ramona and Jose, who seemed tense.
Aren't you two doing your rounds?
Dr. Dexter, the director, warned us. Suing the guy could be dangerous for all of us.
Ramona told Blaine, her voice thick with worry, but Blaine didn't flinch, so Jose chimed in.
He has got connections, Dr. Dexter. He can get all of us fired, or worse.
So, are you saying that the hospital will turn against us to save itself?
Blaine snapped, to which Ramona responded.
Not just the hospital. We are talking about our careers here.
But Blaine wasn't convinced.
No. We're gonna do this. That man needs to be held accountable for his actions.
He roared, inviting attention from the people around. Blaine excused himself and left the place while Ramona and Jose stared at each other, troubled.
Our jobs are on the line here!
Jose panicked, so the two of them decided to meet the only person who had the power to change Blaine's mind, Zoey. Zoey agreed to help them and met Blaine at the park outside the hospital.
Zoey, what did you want to talk about?
Please drop the charges against the man who hit me. If you continue, it is only going to cause more repercussions for you, the hospital, and the staff.
Blaine shook his head and retorted,
No, that man needs to pay for what he did to you.
That's my problem, not yours. If you don't withdraw, I'm not going to give a statement, and I won't be a witness, and I won't cooperate.
So that's what you really want? You want people to just harm you all the time?
Blaine's words stung Zoey, but she didn't let it show.
I don't let people harm me anymore.
So you have grown?
Of course I have grown. A lot of things have happened over the past few years.
Indeed it had, and Blaine didn't have a clue about any of it. He continued,
Look, just come over to my apartment. We can speak about this tomorrow, okay?
Zoey snapped, exasperated. He is just as stubborn as ever, she thought, and turned to walk away, but stopped when Blaine asked,
Zoey, why did you leave? I mean, I just keep thinking about it. Why you left? Please tell me. You come over tomorrow and we can part ways, peacefully. And I won't press charges on that man.
You really want to know?
Yes. And I found your necklace. I know how special it is to you. I want to give it back.
Okay, I'll come.
Okay, and thank you for standing up for me.
Blaine said and walked away. The next morning, Zoey arrived at Blaine's apartment. She wasn't sure if meeting him was a good idea, and she couldn't bear the indifference and coldness of the man who once loved her deeply and for whom she still had suppressed feelings. However, it could be the last time, so wrestling with her emotions, Zoey rang the bell. Blaine immediately opened the door and smiled, reminding her of their countless dates. He is just as handsome as before, if not more, she thought as she followed him into the kitchen.
So, have you had breakfast yet?
Yes, I did.
As Blaine nodded and turned to the counter to make his breakfast, Zoey started talking. She was nervous yet stern.
Blaine, going forward, I will communicate directly with Sophia regarding the renovations to your house. Is that clear?
Blaine nodded his head in response. Zoey continues.
Any concerns you have, you can convey them through her. I am here to accommodate any preference you have.
Sure. Hey, who is the guy who came in the other day?
Before Zoey could answer Blaine's question, she was interrupted by her phone. It was a call from Matthew.
Matthew, what's wrong?
Zoey, where are you? It's urgent. Max's doctor needs to talk to you.
Zoey tensed up and immediately turned to leave, but Blaine grabbed her by the arm.
Where are you going? Are you going to leave our meeting? Is he more important than this?
Yes, he is the most important person in my life. Let me go, Blaine.
Well, if he's so special, then who is he?
Blaine's voice thundered. Zoey pulled her arm away out of his hold.
Are you jealous, Blaine?
Zoey asked, looking into his angry eyes. Blaine turns away, not wanting to respond. So Zoey, convinced that this was the end of that conversation, walks out, while Blaine stands there hurt and confused. Once again, she walks away from me, he thought. Back at the hospital, Zoey met Matthew. They go into Dr. Spencer's office and wait there impatiently. After about 10 minutes, Dr. Spencer arrives and talks to Zoey. He had a grim expression on his face. Zoey's heart started pounding. She knew what was coming, but she didn't want to believe it.
Thank you for coming. We reviewed Max's case extensively. Zoey, we've done our best so far, but time isn't on our side. Max needs a specialized surgical procedure. It is our best shot at buying the time we need.
How much will that cost, Dr. Spencer?
About $50,000.
The doctor's words kept ringing in Zoey's ears while Max's face flashed in front of her eyes as she walked out of the hospital with Matthew. More than panic, hopelessness set in her, and she dropped on a bench, devastated. Matthew tried to console her.
Zoey, don't worry. I will arrange the money.
No, Matthew. You've paid for so many treatments already. I don't even know how to repay you.
Matthew shook his head in disagreement and said,
Zoey, Max is like family to me. I want to do what it takes to help him out of this.
Yet Zoey didn't want to trouble Matthew and declined his offer. In the following weeks, Zoey took up odd jobs to save up money for his treatment. However, she couldn't handle the exhaustion.
Zoey, it's 5 a.m. Where are you?
Asked Ziva over the phone. Plopped on the bathroom floor, Zoey broke down.
At the bar. I'm taking up every job that I can to save him. I don't know how long this is gonna last.
Though she was hopeless and tired, Zoey didn't give up and continued waitressing at the bar. One night, the entire staff of the hospital's neurology department, including Blaine, his assistants Ramona and Jose, his senior Dr. Warner, and his colleague David, came to the bar for a drink.
A toast to the entire neurology department, to the best staff in the hospital.
I'm sticking to water tonight. I've got surgery in the morning.
With seniority comes privilege, David.
Dr. Warner cackles at David and turns to Blaine, who is not drinking.
Hey, Blaine, your glass is dry.
Oh, no. That was the last one for tonight. If I drink another one, I'll definitely regret it tomorrow.
Blaine responds. Just then, Zoey entered the VIP room with a heavy tray and was shocked to find Blaine there. To evade the awkwardness, Zoey quickly placed the tray on the table and attempted to rush back, but was stopped by Warner.
Where are you rushing off to, pretty girl?
Dr. Warner wrapped an arm around Zoey, but she politely moved away.
I am sorry, but we are short-staffed tonight.
Aren't Enclave's VIP hostesses responsible for bottle service? If the service isn't up to my standards, I'll have to take my business elsewhere.
Everyone in the room felt uncomfortable witnessing Warner's behavior. However, Zoey hesitated for a second and then smiled politely. She couldn't afford to lose this job.
Would you like me to pour drinks for you and your guests?
As Zoey went about pouring the drinks, filling everyone's glasses, Warner continued behaving lewdly.
Why don't you have a drink with me? It will change your life.
Sorry, I am working.
Well, you are supposed to entertain us, aren't you?
Hey, that's enough, Warner. She's just doing her job.
Blaine snapped while trying very hard to keep his temper in check. He then turned to Zoey, who was filling his glass, and coldly asked,
So, is this why you went away so urgently the other day?
Zoey stared at Blaine. She opened her mouth to respond, but Dr. Warner pulled her into his lap. Feeling humiliated, Zoey shifts immediately. Blaine yells,
Hey, that's enough!
Wait a minute. What's your problem, Blaine? What's going on with you? It's just a bottle girl.
Blaine stared daggers at Warner while Ramona tried to diffuse the tension by calling for another toast. But Warner ignored her and went on.
She's your little lover, isn't she? Oh my goodness, that's right. I know you from the hospital.
Warner laughed and smacked Zoey from behind. Blaine was fuming. Springing up from his seat, he planted multiple punches on Warner's face, pinning him down.
That's the last time you disrespect her. The last time!
Roared Blaine as he released Warner. Everyone in the room gasped as Dr. Warner weakly stood up, clutching his bleeding nose.
Blaine, mark my words, this won't end well for you. When the hospital gets word of what you've done, you're gonna be screwed. You love to save lives, don't you? Well, guess what? You just screwed up your life, and hers, for being in the hospital, and her son's, too.
The whole room was stunned after what they had witnessed. Blaine slipped away and started gulping drink after drink to forget what had happened. By the time he was done, he couldn't even get himself to move out of his seat. So Ramona asked Zoey to take him to his apartment, as she knew where he lived. Zoey hesitantly agreed and supported Blaine to the parking lot to hail a taxi. Roused by the cool wind, Blaine recognized Zoey and rudely pushed her away.
How dare you touch me, you cheat!
Excuse me? What did you just say?
Cheat! I called you a cheat.
I have never cheated on you.
You cheated on me when you left me alone. I was waiting for you.
Blaine turned around and walked towards his car. Zoey caught up to Blaine, concerned.
Blaine, slow down on the liquid courage, okay? You're not driving tonight. It's like asking for trouble, and I can't let you do that to yourself.
Just back off, Zoey. I can handle myself.
Blaine, this is about your safety. Stop messing around. You're putting your life at risk. Stop it.
Blaine attempted to unlock his car, but Zoey snatched and hid his keys behind her back.
Zoey, come on. Give me back my keys. I don't need a babysitter.
No way! You are in no shape to drive. I won't let you. It's not happening, Blaine.
Don't worry. Even if I crash, it won't be on your conscience. I'm taking responsibility for my own actions.
Blaine, this isn't a joke. I care about you. I know you're upset, but getting behind the wheel now is a terrible idea.
Save your speech for someone else.
Hurt but determined, Zoey decided to take matters into her own hands. She rushed over, wrapped her arms around Blaine, and struggled to pull him towards the street.
Are you trying to make me suffer? It's 4 a.m. and I have to work at 8. Please, Blaine, I'm tired.
How can Matthew let you live like this?
Zoey, her heart numb with pain, avoided the question. Blaine finally relented and let her help him get home. The moment Zoey put him on the sofa, he passed out. Concerned about the wounds on Blaine's hand, Zoey decided to play nurse. She dampened a towel and gently wiped away the sweat from Blaine's brow. She explored his medicine cabinet and settled on the carpet beside the sofa. Applying medicine to his swollen knuckles, Zoey couldn't help but sigh under her breath.
Dr. Dexter, what in the world am I supposed to do with you?
Zoey blew on his sore hand, unaware that Blaine was now awake, watching her. Blaine's dangerous gaze narrowed as he observed Zoey gently taking care of him.
Zoey.
You're awake?
Suddenly, Blaine coldly withdrew his hand from hers and stood up.
Don't touch me.
He barked and walked into the kitchen, grabbing himself an energy drink from the refrigerator. Zoey intervened and snatched the drink.
Blaine, are you crazy? You've already drunk too much. You need to drink water, not this.
Zoey was growing angry at his ignorance. She held the can and glared at his expressionless eyes.
Give it back to me.
No.
As Zoey turned to pour the drink down the sink, Blaine grabbed her waist, pushing her against the wall. He was fierce, staring at her. Zoey was stunned and confronted him.
What do you want?
Blaine responded with a passionate kiss, venting years of suppressed anger. Zoey kissed him back, her hands gripping his shirt.
Zoey, do you know how much I hate you? You just can't stop provoking me. You're everywhere I go. The temptation is too much. After what you've put me through, you owe me this.
The 4-year break made their kiss feel familiar and new all at once. As if Zoey was kissing Blaine for the first time, a second time. Blaine began to lift Zoey's shirt when reality hit Zoey. She tried to push him away, but Blaine, still drunk, overpowered her, pinning her hands above her head.
Was it worth it, Zoey? Was it worth marrying Matthew?
Let me go, Blaine, please.
That's where you and I differ. I can't leave you, even if I can't stand you right now. It's not in me to ditch you like you did to me 4 years ago.
You know nothing, Blaine. I left you to protect her.
Protect our what? Our relationship? Oh, just look at what you've turned me into. You think you can love someone, huh? You cheated on me once, and now you're doing the same to Matthew, your so-called devoted husband.
How dare you label me a cheat? You don't have a clue about the sacrifices I've made, the pain I've endured. I won't let anyone speak ill of Matthew. I've been through too much, and I won't tolerate anyone speaking ill of him again.
Zoey's tears fell, and Blaine realized what he did. Zoey left the apartment and took a cab home, and Blaine watched her drive away. A few days passed. Zoey was working an overnight shift at the Enclave when Jose walked in and ordered 6 dozen bottles of the best wine. For the next 2 weeks, multiple doctors entered the bar and ordered an excessive amount of wine every day. Zoey started growing suspicious.
Something's off here. I mean, doctors enjoying wine is nothing new, but this sudden surge in orders? And only the best ones? It can't be a coincidence.
And her suspicion was proved right when one night Ramona came in to buy the wine and seemed nervous. So Zoey, going by her intuitions, refused to sell the wine, citing that they were out of stock. She then followed Ramona and heard her update Blaine about it over the phone. The next night, Zoey bumped into Blaine in the hospital hallway on her way back to Max's room.
Dr. Dexter.
We have nothing more to say to each other.
Why has everyone in your department been buying wine from me? Dr. Dexter, I don't understand why you did this, but I'm grateful. I don't want to be indebted to you.
Do you remember our kiss from the other night?
I remember, but we don't need to discuss it.
How much is the commission on those wines? Enough compensation for that kiss, I assume.
Zoey couldn't believe what she had just heard.
What does that mean?
You don't understand? Do I need to explain myself more clearly?
Blaine, you told your colleagues to buy wine from me so that you could insult and degrade me? I don't want your money, and you certainly don't owe me for any services rendered.
Since you're so proud you can reject the money, no one's forcing you to take it.
Furious and hurt, Zoey glared at Blaine as he ignored her and walked away, provoking her further.
Since Dr. Dexter is so generous, there's no need for me to pretend to be noble. Getting paid is more practical than giving it away for free, right? At least this way I get something pleasurable out of the experience.
Blaine shot a cold stare at Zoey and turned to walk away from her. Zoey felt embarrassed and little.
I wish I had enough money without the commission to fund Max's treatments. If I did, I would have thrown his money in his face already. Max needs chemotherapy more than I need my dignity.
She thought, but snapped out of her melancholy when she saw a middle-aged man in a hospital gown running towards her with a bottle of liquid in his hand. Zoey instinctively stepped aside to avoid him, but then she watched in horror as the man charged straight at Blaine.
Blaine, look out!
You bastard! I will ruin your face, just like you ruined my life!
The patient threw the liquid directly at Blaine, but Zoey dived and pushed Blaine out of the way. The liquid splashed onto Zoey's face and she screamed in agony. Her eyes started to burn and tears gushed out. Blaine attacked the man, throwing punches and shouting in anger.
What did you just throw at her? Was that sulfuric acid?
Blaine, my eyes hurt.
Blaine's focus shifted to Zoey's screams. He rushed to her and picked her up in his arms.
Oh God! Don't worry, Zoey. I'm here. Nothing will happen to you.
Blaine ran toward the emergency room. Typically calm during chaos, he was panicking for the first time. Zoey was being attended to by nurses when a doctor came to Blaine.
She's very lucky. It was a false alarm. The liquid was just some chili pepper concoction.
Are you sure it was a false one? That guy looked serious and Zoey's eyes were swollen and red.
I won't dare joke with you, Dr. Dexter. She will be fine. She just needs some rest.
Blaine was relieved that it was a false alarm, but was still concerned about Zoey and checked in on her.
You'll be fine soon, Zoey.
My eyes still burn, but they're getting better. Who was the patient? Do you know him?
Not yet, but he will get my appointment soon, and I will make his life a living...
Before Blaine could finish his sentence, Dr. Melanie Green, a psychiatrist at the same hospital, entered the room they were in.
I heard your friend was splashed with chili pepper. How's the situation?
She will be fine soon. You are...
I'm Dr. Melanie Green from the psych department. The man who created this mess is one of our patients. I'm sorry this happened, but...
But what? Are you running a psychiatric department or a hanging garden? How did he leave undetected?
Today's incident was indeed an oversight on our part, Dr. Dexter, but please forgive that patient. His wife cheated and left him for another man, causing him to have a mental breakdown. Now, all handsome men trigger him, and when he sees one, he loses his control.
Oh my, I punched a patient. This is not good. How is he now?
He'll be fine. He has a broken nose, but the rest of his injuries are minor.
Blaine took a deep breath and Dr. Green took a leave. He stood by Zoey's bed, softly touching her face.
Dr. Dexter, if you want to thank me now, I will gladly accept it.
Stop protecting me. If you let this happen a third time, I won't let you off so easily. I can take care of myself. What if it really had been sulfuric acid? Do you understand the consequences?
I did what I had to do.
Are you an idiot?
What about you? Trying to save lives every day? Are you an idiot?
Zoey tried her best to defend her actions. Blaine kept staring coldly at Zoey.
Your eyes are feeling better?
Much better.
Get up and follow me.
Where are we going?
Blaine ignored her and walked out of the room. They entered his department's office where he insisted on giving her an eye ointment.
Maybe everyone has already left work.
Give me a second. I'm going to change my clothes.
Blaine headed into the locker room. As Zoey waited awkwardly on the sofa, the office door flung open and Jose barged in with excitement.
Dr. Dexter, I heard you're getting married. Is that true?
He blurted out before noticing Zoey.
Hi, Zoey. I didn't know you were here. I heard about the incident. How are you feeling now?
Zoey awkwardly stood up. Jose realized he had said something wrong as Zoey tried to hide her emotions. Suddenly, Blaine returned from the locker room, now dressed in an elegant dark suit.
Are you here to take over, Jose?
Yes.
Good, because I'm leaving now. I have plans later with my fiancé.
He's really going to get married.
Zoey thought, melancholy taking over her as Blaine handed her the eye ointment.
Thank you. I'll be leaving now.
Where are you going? I'll give you a lift.
No need, I'll go by myself. You don't need to worry about me anymore.
Blaine left the office. His indifference got to her, and her face turned pale. Zoey turned to Jose, who was looking at her with a heavy heart. Zoey couldn't stand being pitied and left the office quickly, feeling the weight of her emotions. Outside the hospital, Zoey was surprised to find Blaine's car waiting.
Get in. You can't drive home with your eyes like that. I ignored you earlier because I didn't want Jose to get the wrong idea.
Zoey, filled with her complicated feelings, couldn't utter a single word as she got into the car.
Fasten your seatbelt.
As Blaine drove, Zoey stared blankly out the window, trying to ignore the emotional void she felt.
What time do you get off work?
5 o'clock.
No, from your job at Enclave.
His voice was a little soft, leaving Zoey to wonder about his sudden interest. She hesitated, but answered truthfully.
3 in the morning.
Do you really need money that badly?
Zoey, feeling uncomfortable, nodded, but Blaine seemed concerned.
Matthew doesn't have money to help you? Why are you working so hard? How does he live with honor?
I can't ask him for more. I've already spent too much of his money.
What do you need so much money for?
Zoey hesitated, feeling guilty, but before she could answer, Blaine dismissed the topic.
Forget it. I'm not interested in knowing about you either.
The car fell into silence, but Blaine couldn't contain himself and spoke his heart out.
You're his wife. He should share this burden with you. You don't have to force yourself to live like this. If you're really short of money and Matthew doesn't want to help, I can lend it to you.
Zoey couldn't control her tears any longer. The car stopped at a red light. Blaine handed her a tissue.
Zoey, don't cry. I don't like it, and it makes you look even worse than you already do.
The light changed. You can drive now.
Blaine resumed driving. Zoey directed him to stop at the end of her street and unbuckled her seatbelt.
Are you sure you don't want me to drop you in front of your house?
No, there's no need. I'm good here.
Zoey said flatly. She didn't want Ziva to see Blaine dropping her off. Blaine didn't press further and let her go.
If you feel any discomfort, come to the hospital.
Thanks again for the ride.
Zoey turned and took a few steps, then abruptly turned back around. Blaine watched her from inside the car as she bent down and said,
Congratulations on your engagement.
You came back just to say that?
Blaine asked, anger filling his words. Zoey ignored Blaine's coldness and expressed her heartfelt wishes.
You better cherish your fate with Sophia. Meeting the one you will spend the rest of your life with is a blessing.
She maintained a sincere smile, but tears streamed down her face as she left. Blaine got out of the car.
Zoey, stop!
Wiping her tears, she turned to look at Blaine, who took out her necklace from his pocket.
Your necklace. Do you still want it?
Zoey looked at the necklace for a moment and turned, her back facing Blaine. He instinctively pushed her hair aside and put the necklace on her.
Thank you, Blaine,
she said softly and walked home. The following morning, Zoey found herself in a better mood than she had been in weeks. She bought some cookies and made her way to the hematology department to meet Matthew. Her cheer waned away as she stepped into Matthew's office and saw Blaine sitting inside. Will Blaine find out the truth about Zoey and Matthew? Or will he create a rift between them? To find out what happens next, download the Pocket FM app now. The link is in the description.